All right, so today we are jumping into a really powerful framework for thinking about purpose. We're pulling from all sorts of thinkers, from ancient emperors to modern day psychologists. And it's an idea that's going to make you rethink not just what you do, but who you're really meant to be.
So let's kick things off with this incredible thought from Leo Tolstoy. Now, notice what he doesn't talk about. He doesn't mention ambition or fame or success, none of that. Instead, he talks about being a well-maintained instrument. His main job, as he sees it, isn't to achieve something, but to keep his soul, the tool itself, ready to be used. It's a simple idea, right? But man, the implications are huge. And that's where we land on this really provocative question. Seriously, what if the whole point of your life isn't actually your own happiness or your own fulfillment? What if it's about something else entirely? It sounds kind of crazy, but if you can just sit with that one little shift in perspective, you've got the key to everything else we're going to talk about today.
So that brings us to our first big idea here. A life that's oriented not inward, on the self, but outward, toward the world. A life of service.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. You wouldn't expect this, but we find the exact same idea in, of all places, business theory. Yeah, from the legendary management thinker Peter Drucker. He basically argued the same thing about companies. He said any company that just exists to make money is doomed to fail. Its real purpose has to be external. Think about it. Creating a customer just means you're serving a need that exists outside of your own company. And that's the perfect analogy for us, right? If a business exists to serve a customer, well, who or what are we here to serve? Suddenly, the question isn't what do I want anymore? It's what am I here to give?
Okay, so if we're going to live this outward-facing life, we've got to understand the two parts of ourselves that are kind of always at war. And that brings us to the core metaphor of this whole thing. The instrument and the commander.
So, on one hand, you've got the instrument. You can think of this as your soul, your talents, your raw potential. According to thinkers like Tolstoy, this part is basically a gift. It's on loan to you. But then you've got the commander. That's your will, your discipline. That's the part that is your responsibility. You see the difference? And here is the absolute key takeaway. Your talent, that potential you have, it doesn't take care of itself. It's like a guitar that can go out of tune or a knife that can get dull. The commander has to be on duty like all the time, fighting off laziness, fighting off fear, fighting off the desire for comfort. The potential might be a gift, sure, but keeping it ready, that is a choice you have to make every single day. And yeah, this isn't a one-and-done decision. You make this choice every single day. And the place you make it? Well, that brings us to your daily battlefield. The author Stephen Pressfield just nails this idea. He's writing about ancient Spartan warriors, sure, but really he's talking about you and me, staring at a blank page or a tough project at work. We have to be our own commander. We have to be the part of us that shows up even when we don't feel like it, the part that's unafraid. And just when you think the pressure's all on you, Dr. Jordan Peterson comes along and zooms out. He shows us that this isn't just a personal thing. When you ignore that call to action, when your inner commander just decides to take the day off, you're not just letting yourself down. You are putting the entire ship at risk. Your decision not to act, to stay comfortable, it creates this vacuum, and that affects everybody around you. It's a heavy thought, but our small private failures have a very real public cost. That's the weight of it. Okay, so let's say we do it. The commander's on duty, we're ready to act. But how do we actually point that energy outward, especially when you're dealing with, well, difficult people? How do we make this idea of love and service actually work in the real world? Well, first, we have to change how we think about our own pain. The theologian Henri Nouwen had this beautiful idea. He said our wounds, our struggles, they aren't weaknesses we should hide. They're actually our biggest asset. Because when we can mobilize our own pain, we can connect with and understand someone else's pain. Our brokenness can actually become a bridge. But okay, that's one thing. What about when someone flat out wrongs you? How are you supposed to be all service-oriented then? For that, we're going to go way back in time to a Roman emperor, of all people. Marcus Aurelius actually had a super practical technique for this very problem. All right, so he had this 3-step process you can do right in your head. Step 1, just try to see it from their side. They probably thought they were doing the right thing, even if they were totally wrong. Step 2, Realize nobody wakes up and decides, I'm gonna be the villain today. People don't willingly choose to be bad, and that thought alone can shift you from pure rage to, well, something like compassion. And then, step 3, once you're in that place, then you can act. Because acting from compassion gets stuff done. Acting from rage, not so much.
Okay, I know, this is all starting to sound massive, right? Keeping your soul immaculate, commanding yourself, loving people who wrong you. I mean, come on, how is anyone supposed to pull this off in our messy, everyday lives? Well, the first part of the answer is don't shrink the goal. I love this quote from Les Brown. He says the real danger isn't aiming too high and missing, it's aiming too low and hitting. So let the vision for your life be big. It should probably scare you, just a little bit. But here's the trick. The vision is huge, but the daily action is tiny. You don't get there in one big, heroic leap. You get there with this: a small, consistent surplus of honest effort every single day. That's it. Just do a little more than you did yesterday. Just show up. That tiny extra bit day after day, it compounds. And eventually, it solves pretty much everything. And this really brings it all together. The poet Facundo Cabral summed up this entire way of thinking perfectly. He said, I am not freedom, but I am the one who provokes it. We're not the masterpiece. We're not the light. We are just the instrument. And our job is to stay clean and tuned so that something bigger can play through us. And so that brings us right back to the beginning. The final question here isn't about whether you're going to be successful or famous or even happy. It's a much simpler, more immediate question. It's for your inner commander right here, right now, on today's battlefield. Is your instrument ready?